Hey guys, quick video weekend. Hopefully you're all doing a debrief. I just want to go through yesterday's open. I want to go through basically what happened off the open. There was a trade as we touched into and just above the prior week settlement. And I'm also here to debunk the myth that you can't trade off the open. Why not? Yeah, you can also trade on Fridays. You can do a lot of things that you're told not to do, and actually there's a lot of edge. Trading off Fridays is great if there's headlines kicking around, and if you're good at trading headlines, why would you not want to trade? So why come up with something as silly as don't trade on a Friday? Okay. Only day I don't trade is Christmas. Right. Let's quickly have a look at what we are going to go through. But the whole thing is about creating a process that you can then refine and improve. So keeping a journal is really important. I keep banging on about this. It's probably the number one thing. I was talking yesterday with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how in the beginning you're just journaling, you're just putting a whole load of stuff down, and you don't know what makes sense, and it all seems a bit of gobbledygook. But you know that's the difficult bit, and then slowly you refine. You know what you're looking for because you start to see patterns, and basically that's how we improve and refine our trading process. Keeping some notes as well about the key you know key things that you're looking at, things that you can base a trade around, whether it's MGI events, the environment, price action. Just keep noting those things down. Certain patterns apply to certain different um, uh, scenarios. So it's really good to keep that journal going. And what you want to really use is, you just want to try and create a repeatable process for different environments. Okay. This all coincides with the fact that you need to be debriefing and planning your prep. Okay, so yesterday off the open, I was talking about the environment. Yesterday was quite balanced, but we want to focus on what we can control off the open. Your decision making, your process, hesitancy. That's just be careful about that off the open. It can, prices move away quickly, so you're taking a lot of price risk if you hesitate. So you want to be making the right decisions at the right time, focusing your routine and your mindset. Okay, so I'm just going to bring in the prep that we did from yesterday. I'm not going to go through it, but a lot of it was talking about balance, and you can see here there's a video replay of what I was talking about yesterday off the open, and basically I was saying this market was balanced, and I think that the most important number on a Friday, especially when we're really near it, is the prior week settlement. So whether or not we'd be opening up or down, closing at the week up or down is really important psychologically as well. But also, given how close we were to the prior week settle at 57.05 ish, I think an early test would be important, and that was the crux of the idea for a trade. And I've written it all down here as concise as can possibly be. All you attention to, all your attention has to be on basically on those two areas that I've kind of highlighted. I thought there could be a test into 87's settlement prior, or the prior week settlement, and that's all you have to really concentrate on. So we're going to go in and have a look. We're not going to waste too much time. We're going to go and have a look at the price action. We'll do a video replay. I know you guys enjoy those. I do have the mic on. Yes, this is a bonus. This is take 3, guys. I've done this twice before without the microphone on. All right, so this is the open. This is what happened. Basically, these are footprints. These are 8,000 bars. This is the opening range, high and low, as I define it, each to their own. And basically, let's have a quick look at the 5-minute. Remember, I'm not talking about what environment we're in. I already spoke about that in my prep. Go and have a look at that video. That's for you to have a look at. There we go. Okay, so this is the 5-minute video. 5-minute 5-minute candle. This is what happened. This is where we were. Just going into the session open, we basically had these very sharp reversals away from 10, and then just into the open, we pushed back up into just short of that 10-11 and this was the area that I was really concentrating for a short trade. Would this pre-open swing high hold? Would it look above fail? Remember, we had some pretty aggressive sellers up here, but we also had some pretty aggressive buying down here at the bottom of this balance overnight session. So the key thing was, where did we hold above or below last week's settle? There it is marked out on my chart. There's that big red line. It's an important level for me to look at, and that's what I was looking for. And I was looking for the short trade below it, potentially the long trade above it. And we're going to have a look at the order flow. We're going to have a look at a replay. I'm going to try and sync my Sierra chart and Jigsaw. Jigsaw's much better at doing replays. I'll get my face off that ladder as well for you to have a look at. So hopefully we can just have a look at how the open, what's my thinking as this trade's going off on the open, what are the key levels that I'm looking at. So let me just pause this whilst I go and set this up. Okay, we're back recording here, and we're just a few seconds away from the open. A new profile will start being drawn once, new daily profile will start being drawn once we enter the open. So the areas we're going to be looking at, the variables I'll be looking at this, this full session VWAP, and that pre-open spike high into 11s, and there's that other one into 10s. So I want to see whether or not this area will hold. I want to see sellers engage as they have done. Here we go. We're pushing off the open, and you can see straight away we've got some buyers coming in. We've got some aggression to the upside. There's your. We're just testing now. We're just testing now, and then look. It looks. You can see there's a bit of selling up there, but it's starting to turn. Okay, sellers are coming in pretty quickly. Okay, worth looking to see how that delta is just turning. Okay, we've pushed up into that 0506 area last week's settlement, and we've immediately seen some sellers. Now the next area for immediate interest is going to be basically the developing opening range, which is at 98. Can we get below it, and then can we get through full session VWAP? But the real areas we're looking for failure are up into these prior pre-open highs. And you can see it's pushing, pushing, pushing. Buyers are trying to take hold of this. But as you remember off the pre-market, we were pretty balanced. It was a pretty balanced week, and we're trading at the top end of the weekly range. And we'd seen some sellers into the price session close, so we'd seen some weakness through 57s, 5700s to the downside. So we're just looking to see whether or not these sellers, and they can see now delta is really sellers are getting aggressive, but they need to get paid. We need to see some hold, lower for them to feel good about what they're doing. As you can see now, they're getting pushed up, but this area here is still holding. Okay, see that really aggressive push away there from 08s, trying to, likelihood of stops being up here is high, I would say. But let's just see how this unfolds. Delta's still quite negative off the open. Sellers are really the aggressors here, but they're not really getting what they want. But they're holding, but they're slowly getting pushed up as passive bids just move in, and they are struggling to get this lower. But this is the critical, this is the crux of it. This is what we want to see hold. Okay, we want to see this block here hold, and you can see this final push up here, and this is pretty much it now. Now we're about 8 minutes in. Okay, so all the time you've seen delta turning, but you've seen the price slowly creeping higher. The danger area is this area here. And then if it breaks that, you got last chance saloon, which is this little area up here, just up at 15, 16. But now you're starting to see this starting to come back. Okay, buyers are not holding as they were down. You can see now the price action is a little bit more loose to the downside. Now you want to be thinking about, can you get in this? Can you get in this area here? And there's your stop up at the high. Okay, just above 11 up here. That's the trade. And whilst all that was going on, that was the question. You can just see the loosening up of this. Now it's starting to really move and rotate to the downside. But what we want to see that opening range low taken. That double O is also psychologically important. And you can see the price action to the downside. This could just be one small rotation back to the downside before we come back and take out those highs. But you've got to take your chances. You've got to understand the context you're trading in, where you're trading, the level you are. We're back through 0506, which is last week's settlement. That's where all the volume's being done as well. But we're now holding below it. So as long as we're holding below there, shorts can be comfortable. Also, the full session VWAP is just below. We've got the VWAP, developing VWAP is at 05 last week's settle. And you can see now we're taking out those lows. Here we go, we're coming in to take those lows. And this is the crux of the trade. Once you've got this, once you've got this break below here, you want to see whether or not we can test that full session VWAP and continue to migrate lower, which it does. But I just want to show you that took 10 minutes. 10 minutes off the open. We traded within a 10-point range within the first 10 minutes. That's not a lot, okay? Pretty low volatility for an open. We don't have, nothing scary there. Nothing there should really scare you. You've got a nice condensed little profile there. That one's really, really important. Basically, what that compression is showing you there on these volume bars is basically there's a lot of volume being done in a very, very tight space. Someone's going to be wrong, and you'll be looking for the break of that little candle, and there's the break to the downside, and that now you get your release back through the last week's settlement, and now it's starting to hold, and we've got this little LVN here on the footprint, which now starts to get filled, revisited, but continually we are holding to the downside. Areas I want to be kind of focusing now are the VWAP, this little HVN here that's developed already as well, and the opening range high. Above the opening range high, I'm going to be very, very worried that this is probably going to take out those highs, but you've got to take your chances. You've got to trust your process. You've got to trust what you prepped for, right? And this is all my prep, pretty much looking for this failure up at these areas. This area I consider to be quite important. I thought early on we can get this pushed down, but I'm hoping that this ladder, I mean, we haven't gone into too much detail about it, but I just want to show you how in the opening 10 minutes we haven't really done anything scary. These are all trades that you can take. You can trade the opens. Not every open's the same, but this one, given where we were opening, given the environment that we're trading in, basically was quite tradable. I don't really want to go into anything more than that because the trade eventually breaks down to the downside. Takes a while, but your target, where should it be? Well, normally my first few trades, I'm looking to target something sensible like an overnight POC or a overnight extreme. Those are the kind of areas that I'll be looking for a trade. But yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I just want to show you how these myths about trading off the open, they're not valid. You just need to be able to recognize when is the right time, what's the right price action that you can get involved with. And the only thing you can control in this environment is your risk, and that's where you put your stop. And my stop was somewhere above here, but I would have been willing to give it another look at these highs as well, had it gone wrong, but it didn't, luckily. Okay, all right, that's pretty much it. From me. Have a good weekend. Make sure you debrief. Hopefully this little video helps with you, being more comfortable about trading off the open. It is obviously at your own risk, but it's important to define those risks. That's the only thing you control when you're trading. Okay, good.